We were engulfed by blackness. Next thing I knew, we were standing in front of a very large police station. It read out, Raccoon Police Department. I looked over at Ani, who was now wearing quite different clothes, and asked him, "So this is where we need to be?" He looked at me and said, "Yeah, this looks like the right coordinates. Let's head inside." He opened the doors and stepped through, and as always, I followed those who were more superior than myself in such things. Once inside, I had a very big flashback to when I originally had played the Resident Evil 2 game, but this time, the main hall looked so much larger. Off to one side, we could hear a zombie shuffling. Audie and myself made our way over to find a police officer who looked like he had been necrotized. Ani looked over at me. "Do you want to take care of this kid, or should I?" I looked at him a little hesitant and said, I don't even have a weapon yet." He looked at me and then facepalmed. "Right, almost forgot." So he walked over to the zombie and removed its head. It laid there on the floor, and he seemed to study it for a moment. Readout says his name was Officer Marvin Brenna. Weird. It was about this time that we heard footsteps coming in from behind us. We both turned around to see a fresh-faced looking rookie holding a gun at us. "You must be Leon S. Kennedy," Ronnie said. Leon lowered his weapon and looked at us with a puzzled look on his face. "And who are you, I must ask?" "We're part of a PMC that was sent in to extract survivors. Fortunately for you, you're on our list." Leon, still looking quite puzzled and confused, said, "I'm looking for a young woman. Kind of shortish, longish, brown hair, wearing kind of a red suit. Have you seen her?" Ani shook his head and replied, "No, we haven't seen her, but she is also on our list of people to find." Leon then proceeded to ask, "Okay, so how do we get out of here?" Ani looked at him and said, "Well, we're still trying to figure that out. Other members of our team are located other places in the city. It's quite possible they might know a better way out than we do. For now, we better look around and acquire supplies while we're here." It was at this moment that there was a beeping coming from a small monitor not too far from us. I went over and looked on the screen. There appeared to be a large, very large man walking in a trench coat and a fedora on his hat. It was then that I looked over at Ani. What the hell is that?" Ani took a moment to look at the creature. "It seems to be a G003 model. We might be in some trouble if he finds us, so we best be on the lookout for him. Shouldn't be too hard. Thing's heavy as hell, so it makes a lot of noise." Leon looked at Ani. "How do you know so much about this thing?" Ani replied, "It's our job to know. Never go into a foreign battleground without knowing your enemies. But we shouldn't waste any more time discussing what's known and what's not known. If that thing's already here, we need to move quick, so we better pick up whatever weapons we can find in the area." Leon agreed, and then we proceeded to search the police station. We decided to start our search on the western side of the police station. As we proceeded to search the western side of the police station, we happened across a very unusual looking creature. It had no eyes and a highly exposed brain, as well as claws. It looked nothing like a human, nothing like anything that we'd encounter. My first thoughts, as I played the video game, is, this is a licker. They look so much more grotesque than I could have ever imagined. Seeing it up close like this was nauseating. I tried my hardest not to lose my lunch. It was at this point that Ani pointed out that they were blind as bats and that we should probably proceed slowly and as quietly as we possibly could. So all three of us proceeded to make our way through the hallway, doing our best not to draw their attention. After a while of traversing through zombie-filled hallways, we finally came to the stairs leading up to the second floor. Once we had reached the top of the stairs, Ani took a moment and paused, and then said, "I feel like we're missing something. Why don't you two head on ahead to the Star's main office? I'll go look around. I'll meet you there." After that, Ani split up and headed through a door, and we headed down the hallway. After a few more zombie encounters, we eventually made it to the Star's office, and we had a look around. There wasn't much there. It seemed that there was a weapons lockup gate in the back, but we didn't seem to have any access to it. "Damn, it's locked," Leon said. I sat down in one of the chairs and then said to Leon, "Well, I'm sure Ani will find whatever key is needed for it. Just give it some time." Leon sighed and then took a seat. After about 15 minutes of waiting, Ani showed up. "Ah, there you are. I have something for you, Leon." He proceeded to hand Leon what looked like a pouch and some gun parts, as well as a shotgun. He then turned to me and handed me a GM-79 grenade launcher, as well as a 9mm pistol, and of course ammo for both. It was at this point that he also walked over to the computer that was sitting over in the corner and put something in it. He tapped on the keys for a few moments, and then we heard an electronic lock opening up the weapons armory. We proceeded to head inside. What we found inside was a 50 AE Lightning Hawk and MQ-11 submachine gun, and of course some spare ammo for both. Leon took the Magnum, and I took the submachine gun. It was at this moment that Ani had informed us that while he was out securing weapons, that he had seen an exit. Apparently the fountain in the main hallway had opened up and there was a stairway leading down. "It should lead us out of here," he said. We were all quite well pleased with this new information. We then proceeded to gather any useful supplies that were still left in the office. We then proceeded to head out and head back towards the main hallway. But just as we exited the office, the sound of heavy footfalls started to come from our left. As we turned, the great giant behemoth came walking around the corner. Ani looked at us and just screamed out, "Run, you fools!" We then proceeded to hastily make our way to the main hallway. With this titanous behemoth behind us the whole way, almost on our heels at some point. After traversing some time through the hallways that were now filled with what seemed like even more undead than when we started, we finally made our way back to the main hall. And there he was, standing in the main hallway on the first floor. How did he get in front of us? I pondered at this for a moment. Then Ani spoke up. "Doesn't matter how he's here now. The real point is we have to make it to that exit." So we moved as quickly as possible. We made our way down the first flight of stairs. Unfortunately, we were very close to where we needed to be before the behemoth noticed us. He came rushing from the other side of the main hallway. But fortunately, we were able to make it under the stairs before he was able to reach us. It seems the doorway was too small for him to get through. So we were in luck. Once inside, we found ourselves in what looked like a round office. A small hallway to the right led off to who knows where. We searched the office to see if we could find any further clues or supplies. Once we had clearly searched the room, we then proceeded down the hallway, where there seemed to be a small elevator in the back. We all three proceeded to get inside the elevator and take it down. Once we had reached the bottom, we found a large staircase leading down. Once we had reached the bottom, we found an odd-looking box with some kind of locking mechanism on it. Ani walked over and put something in it, and the box opened up. Inside there was a long-barreled extension for the Lightning Hawk, and a silencer for my submachine gun. Ani handed them both to us, and we equipped them as soon as possible. After a little more searching, we found a door that would lead into what looked like a boiler room area. But after a few moments inside, we could hear what sounded like somebody screaming, but it wasn't quite normal. It almost sounded monstrous. Leon rushed ahead of us. Ani yelled out for him to wait, but it didn't seem he was paying attention. He was more concerned with the sounds that he had heard. We just proceeded to follow after him. It wasn't that long afterwards we heard more yelling and screaming, and the sound of crashing in metal. Once we had reached Leon's last known location, we noticed that a large portion of the walkway had been taken out. We looked down and noticed that Leon was in combat with some very large mutated being of some sort. I looked over at Ani and said, "Is that?" He simply nodded his head. "Yes, that is William Birkin." "Why don't you stay up here? We'll go down and assist Leon. There should be a drop or a ladder nearby. Why don't you try and find it?" I nodded my head and proceeded to look as Ani jumped down. I could hear the yells and screams of the monster, sounds of gunfire. But after a few moments, I heard one final monstrous scream, and then the gunshot stopped. It was about this time that I had made it to the ladder. I yelled out, "Hey, I found it!" Ronnie yelled out, "Good! Let it down and let us up." I proceeded to push the button that released the ladder, and it went clacking to the ground. A few moments later, Ani and Leon ascended the ladder. "All right. Is it time for us to move on, I take it?" Ani nodded his head. We proceeded across the catwalks until we came to a ladder leading up. At the top there was a manhole cover. Leon went first. He said he was going to scout ahead to make sure that it was all clear. I could hear Ani mumble under his breath, always trying to play the hero. He shook his head as we waited to get a call back from Leon that it was all clear. A few moments passed, and then we heard a gunshot, and then someone else speak. It was at this point that Ani put his finger over his lips as to hush me. We sat there listening at the bottom of the ladder.
Lower it. FBI.
Sorry. Thank you. For your help.
Surprised you made it this far.
FBI, huh? What's going on here?
Sorry, that information's classified.
Where are you going?
Do yourself a favor. Stop asking questions and get the hell out of here.
Once the unknown person had left, we proceeded up the ladder. Leon seemed a little flustered. It was at this moment that Ani spoke up. "Okay, this time it's my turn to play scout. Leon, why don't you stay here and keep an eye on the kid?" Leon nodded his head in agreement. Once everything had been brought into an agreement, Ani headed off in one of the side doors. A few moments passed, and then Leon spoke up and asked me, "You look kinda young to be in this line of work. How long have you been doing this?" I laughed and replied, "This is technically my first day." He let out a chuckle. "Yeah, me too. Guess we both get to put on our record, worst first day on the job ever." We both seemed to sit there and think about this for a moment. It was quite funny. After a few moments, the door that Ani had gone through, he came back in through the door that he had entered, with a small device in his hand. And then all of a sudden, one of the cars just beeped, and the trunk of one of the cars had opened. Ani pulled out the contents inside the trunk and walked over to us, handing me a stock for the grenade launcher, as well as handing Leon a stock for his handgun. He looked at Leon and said, "Well, We're not gonna find a way out over here. Best to go look on the other side. We then proceeded to head across the parking lot and to another door. We headed inside. What we found were more than likely the holding cells for the police station. We all kind of looked around, Leon heading down by himself down a hallway. It would seem that most of the prisoners that were being held here had been turned into zombies. That was a little disturbing. Kind of made me think, what kind of people would leave people locked into a cage during an epidemic like this? Some people just have no heart whatsoever. It was about this moment that we heard Leon, a bit ways further into the jail cells. It sounded like he was talking to someone. Ani and myself had stopped to listen, just out of sight.
Hello? Hey. I don't believe it. A real human. Hello, human.
You been here long?
Long enough. Are we the last ones alive?
No, there's a few of us.
Huh. That's good news, I guess.
Yeah.
That's of course Iron sent you.
Irons? You mean Chief Irons? Is he still around?
Who cares? Hopefully he's somebody's dinner by now.
What do you mean by that?
He's the bastard that locked me in here.
I'm sure he had a good reason.
He did. I was about to blow the whistle on his dirty ass. I'd have done the same thing to him, I guess. Hey, I'll make you a deal. Unlock this cell and I'll give you this. There's no other way out of that parking garage, believe me.
Sorry, I can't do that. I have to talk to the chief first.
Look, we're both prisoners in this station. So either we play nice and help each other out, or... Shit. It's coming.
What? What's coming?
Come on, don't be an asshole. Okay, you need this. Just get me the fuck out of here!
Oh my god.
After the large footsteps of what we could only guess was the T-003 walk out of the jail area, we were lucky enough that he hadn't spotted us. Fortunately, our hiding spot had concealed us. We then heard the sound of clicking heels. Wait a moment. There's only one person around here who could be wearing those. We looked down the hallway to see a woman wearing a beige trench coat pass by us. She didn't seem to see us either, but she started to walk down the direction where Leon was. Apparently she had a few things to say to him, so once again, we just stood there and listened.
Who is that?
It's just me. So you can put that thing away.
I don't even know what happened. It just happened so quick.
I told you to get out of here. You wouldn't want to end up like Ben, would you?
You knew him?
He was an informant. Had information of use to my investigation.
So what he said was true? Hey, you can't keep walking away from me! I don't even know your name. I'm Leon Kennedy.
Find a way out, Leon. Before it's too late. Then we'll talk. Name's Ada.
Well, I guess the deal's on.
She again walked past where we were. She seemed to exit in an area where there was none, and this was quite odd. We then proceeded to head down the hallway to see Leon standing at the cell. A huge hole in the cell wall next to the cell he was at, along with a man with his crushed head. Leon seemed to be looking at some odd electrical box. It was at this point that Ani spoke up. "What do you got there, Leon?" Leon turned around and looked at him. He said, "It's gotta be the electrical box. We're gonna have to get this thing fixed before we can open these cells. We're gonna need that card key." Ani looked at him. "Well, that shouldn't be too hard. I happen to have just the right kit." He asked Leon to please move out of his way. Leon stepped to one side. Ani then proceeded to rewire the box again. The power in the area started to come back on, and the cell door opened. Leon stepped inside to grab the goods. He came out of the cell, keycard in hand. We then proceeded to head back out. We hadn't made it far before an alarm went off, and the sound of all of the cell doors opening up. Shit. Now our only exit being blocked by a horde of zombies. And to make matters worse, we could see at the end of the hall, there stood the tyrant, T-003. I looked over to where Ani should be standing, but before I knew it, he was already halfway down the hall, sword in hand as he was cutting his way through the zombies. As he made it to the end of the hall, he came in contact with the tyrant and completely flipped him over his shoulder, sending him sprawled to his back on the floor. He looked back at us and yelled, "Run, both of you! Make it through as quickly as possible! We do not have time!" Leon and myself ran frantically down the hall. Once we made it out of the cells, we were back into the parking garage. Myself and Ani were already by the gate. Leon had just come through the door, when all of a sudden, the tyrant came busting through.
This is getting old. Saving your ass, that's twice.
I didn't realize you were keeping score.
Look, this isn't a game. Nothing dies down here. I take it you have the key card.
Yeah, and this. I was hoping you could explain what's on it.
Maybe. After I hear it. Let's get out of here.
The woman in the beige trench coat walked over towards us. We were both standing next to the gate. She gave us a look of, "Who the hell are you two?" We said nothing to her. As Leon inserted the key card, and the gate started to open.